Animes are known to give us many emotions, and one of the best things that anime can do is soothe our heart by a great romantic story. Today we're counting down 10 romance anime where friends become lovers. But before we start, be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications to never miss upcoming videos. In 10th place comes In Kiss, Pure Rouge. The story is so simple, it's about true love. We all chase it, but not all catch it. And that's what our two main characters are doing as well. Revolving around the typical high school environment, two events of the first episode put a whole romance story in motion. A romance story you probably won't forget that easy. It seems so simple and human that you easily forget about this world and start living on the feelings of the characters involved in this story. As in all romance animes, the drama can't miss out, and you'll find many moments when you'll actually feel like crying if you put yourself in a certain character's situation. In 9th place is Myself, Yourself. The story is about a boy who had to leave his hometown and his friends with his parents. Then 5 years later he returns to see that a lot has changed. The story begins normally enough by introducing the surroundings and the characters with their little quirks. There are also the typical rom-com cliché and cute moments that happen quite a lot, however these jokes are executed well enough that it feels refreshing. Another good thing is that it doesn't just unload a bunch of drama. In 8th place is True Tears. True Tears is a fairly typical slice of life romance comedy drama based on an unusual theme of tears. From the beginning the story is pretty ordinary for this type of anime, as it has a male protagonist and it introduces him, his surroundings, and the heroines involved in the story. However, it is really difficult to tell what the story is entirely about or where it is headed, until things reach a certain point. That is when some major developments arise, but it's a shame that the series is almost half over by that point. Overall, True Tears proved to be a great romance anime. In 7th place is Little Busters. Little Busters is a visual novel adaptation made by Key Visual Novel Studio, which is known for making dramatic and plot-oriented titles. The story takes place at a high school in Japan. Our main protagonist of the series is an ordinary boy with nothing much to stand out with his features, the girlish look, expressions, weak build that can sometimes be mistaken as a trap when dressed in a specific way. Furthermore, he has a sad past that we can call a tragedy considering the death of his parents when he was young. He also suffers from a case of narcolepsy, where he suffers from a lack of sleep. Yet at the same time, we can see that Ricky is a very kind boy who is gentle, and has a tendency to help others in need. In 6th place is Oh Maidens in Your Savage Season. At the start of this series, after finishing the first episode, one will admit I found it dumb and cringy, but as I kept on watching it, the series grew on me in a way I never thought it would. What to me seemed to be the start of a melodramatic series became something wholesome, relatable, hilarious, and downright awesome. While watching this series, each episode felt like a roller coaster. During one moment I'm laughing and in another cringing from how I felt watching it, to then being in awe of what would happen next. I was filled with great joy while watching these girls try their best to understand their emotions and how to properly express them, which is something most people of all ages find difficult to do.
Saki, 開けるよ。
ちょっと。
In 5th place is A Lull in the Sea. The story takes place in a fantasy world where there exists two different subspecies of humans. In this story, people originally came from the ocean, however over time there were ones who started crawling up on land as well to see what lay above the surface of the water. Now, ages later, the population has been split completely into land people and sea people, and they generally live quite isolated from each other. The story mainly focuses on a circle of childhood friends from the sea, living in an underwater village. In fourth place is Orange. Naho Takamiya's first day of her sophomore year of high school is off to an uneasy start. After waking up late, she receives a strange letter addressed to her. However, the letter is from herself 10 years in the future. At first, Naho is skeptical of the note, yet after witnessing several events described to take place, she realizes the letter really is from her 26-year-old self. The note details that Naho's future life is filled with regrets, and she hopes that her younger self can correct the mistakes that were made in the past.
何？
タイプじゃねえわ。
うん。そりゃ振られるわ、お前。
In third place is Love is Hard for Otaku. The story follows our two main characters who are apparently otakus. After many years of middle school, these two friends meet again at their job. Later that night, the pair go out for drinks, so that they can catch up after all the years apart. After Narumi complains about her previous boyfriend breaking up with her because he refused to date a Fujoshi, Hirotaka suggests that she try dating a fellow otaku, specifically himself. He makes a solemn promise to always be there for her, to support her. Blown away by the proposal, Narumi agrees immediately. Thus the two otakus start dating, and their adorably awkward romance begins.
目が共鳴している。
知り合いか？いや、知らん。
あなたを見つけるために育成層の時を経てここに来た。
なんか告ってるぞ、羨ましい。いや、そういうんじゃないだろこれ。そう、これは中二病だ。
In second place is Love, Chunibyo and Other Delusions. This is an anime series based on the novel of the same name that is produced by Kyoto Animation. Some fans of Kyoto Animation will definitely rejoice, because the Japanese studio is already well known for its rich visuals and aesthetics. They have been involved with many series with the typical high school life being turned from normal to abnormal. The series takes place at a typical high school setting. It involves a young boy named Yuta who is suffering a case of chunibyo, or middle school second-year syndrome. In technical terms, it is a condition in which an individual deludes themselves as being a smartass and looks down on others. They also believe they have some sort of special power that excludes themselves from the normal society. In first place is Honeyworks. This anime is surprisingly adapted from music. The movie is your typical sweet rom-com, which talks about a group of friends being secretly in love with each other, and we can't forget the love triangle. The story wasn't anything new, but to me every single one has its own charm, just like this movie, which has its own unique way of getting them to struggle until they find their way to master their courage to confess. Also, if you search on YouTube, they have many music videos of Honeyworks which are really good. Try listening to them as well. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this list. Be sure to subscribe for more if you haven't already. Also, you can join our Discord server, and if you have free time, feel free to visit my merch store website, Facebook page and Twitter. See you soon.